Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
The Christmas rush was in full swing at the bakery. Orders were piling up, and the sweet aroma of freshly baked goods filled the air. As I filled the orders, I couldn't help but sigh. It had been ages since I'd had a proper date. The last thing I needed was romance, especially with the holiday season in full swing. My name is Molly, and this is my love story. Later, my niece and I went Christmas tree shopping, and fate intervened. We were eyeing the perfect tree when a handsome man and a cute little boy approached. As we both reached for the same tree, our hands brushed, sending a spark of electricity through me. His eyes met mine, and for a fleeting moment, I felt a connection. Little did I know this chance encounter would change the course of my life. Later that night, I was up late baking when I received an unexpected email from someone named Josh, thanking me for my bakery's donation to the Christmas tree lighting festival the following week. We emailed a bit, then we exchanged numbers and soon found ourselves engrossed in a late-night conversation. He told me he had recently moved to town with his son. His words were witty, his humor infectious, and a connection began to form. The next day, as I treated my niece to ice cream, I couldn't believe my eyes. There in the ice cream shop were Christmas tree guy and his son. We talked a bit, and I could tell he was a great dad as I admired him with his son. Then we locked eyes, a silent conversation passing between us. The spark I'd felt that day at the tree lot reignited, stronger than ever. Later that day, my phone rang. It was an unfamiliar number, but the voice on the other end was warm and inviting. I was a little confused, then he said, "Night Owl Josh," to jog my memory. He was calling me about the cookie donation and, more importantly, to seek my baking expertise. He apparently had a bit of a baking mishap and needed some urgent advice. As we chatted, I couldn't shake the feeling that there was a spark between us. He was witty and surprisingly down to earth. There was a certain charm to his voice, and I found myself drawn to him. The next day, my niece and I were in line to see Sana when Josh called me. His son had a brilliant idea for a gingerbread house booth for the upcoming Christmas lighting festival. Josh, ever the supportive father, was all in. But he admitted he wasn't exactly a gingerbread house connoisseur. That's where I came in. I was thrilled to help, envisioning myself surrounded by children, frosting, and sprinkles. It was the perfect opportunity to spend more time with him and his adorable son. As he invited me to join him, I couldn't help but feel a flutter of excitement. This Christmas was shaping up to be truly magical. I hung up the phone, feeling a warmth spread through me. Then I saw a Christmas tree guy at the front of the line talking to another woman. She was beautiful and they seemed close. A pang of disappointment shot through me. Could he be married? Later that day, I called Josh to give him the list of supplies for the gingerbread house. As we chatted, I couldn't shake the feeling that there was a connection between us, a bond that transcended our phone calls. We shared stories, laughed, and even commiserated over past relationships. He told me about his ex-wife who passed away, and I confessed about my failed engagement. It was as if we were pouring our hearts out to each other. The next day, Josh texted me, asking me to text him the supplies for the gingerbread house. I told my sister Josh mentioned he'd be at the candy store at 3 p.m. Curiosity piqued, and my sister decided to take me along for a little reconnaissance mission. When we arrived at the candy store, I couldn't believe my eyes. There he was, Christmas tree guy. He is Josh, the same man I'd been chatting with on the phone. The realization hit me like a ton of bricks. The two men were one and the same. I was a mix of excitement and nerves as I called Josh later that day. I told him I was almost done with the gingerbread. He still had no clue I knew who he was. The next day, I was delivering a batch of fresh bread to a local restaurant when I spotted Josh sitting at a table, deep in conversation with another woman. The sight of them together was a gut punch. It was clear that he was on a date. The woman was beautiful, and they seemed quite comfortable with each other. I couldn't help but feel a pang of jealousy. Later that night, my phone rang. It was him. I hesitated, my heart heavy. I just couldn't bring myself to answer. I was still angry, hurt, and confused. The day of the Christmas festival arrived. With a heavy heart, I asked my sister to deliver the gingerbread house supplies to Josh. I couldn't bear the thought of seeing him. As I focused on work, I couldn't help but wonder what he was doing, if he was thinking about me. He had called me several times, but I had ignored his calls. Later, my sister burst into the bakery, out of breath, thrusting a dress into my hands. "Put this on and come with me," she panted, her eyes wide with excitement. Confused, I quickly changed, eager to know what was going on. I quickly changed into a festive dress and rushed to the festival. I spotted Josh as he approached me looking lost in thought. He recognized me from the Christmas tree stand and the ice cream shop. Then I sent him a text revealing my identity. He looked up, his eyes widening in surprise. He said he couldn't wait to meet me. In that moment, all the tension and misunderstanding melted away. When he walked over to me, our eyes met and time seemed to stand still. A rush of emotions flooded through me as we shared a tender kiss. A kiss filled with longing. A moment of pure bliss. As the Christmas lights twinkled around us, I knew that this was just the beginning of our story.